Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for a Tuesday edition of the Steel City Sports Report, where we talk everything Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates. I am your host, Brady Vini. Welcome, everybody. A big day today in Steelers world. The initial 53-man roster for the Pittsburgh Steelers has officially come out a little bit past 4 o'clock, which was the deadline. About 4:30, we got the initial roster for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who made the team, who didn't, and what is next up for this team and this 53-man roster we will discuss to kick off the show here in a matter of moments. Also today, we will talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates. They losing in walk-off fashion to the St. Louis Cardinals last night, and a roster move, couple of roster moves, that is, were just made right before we went live. We will break those down. And we have a little bit of Pittsburgh Penguins talk, bringing back something that went away that we have not seen from this team since 2013. What that is, we will discuss and talk about later on, along with any other news stories that happen to come along this way. We're going to get into the Steelers talk right here in a matter of moments. But first thing is first, if you're new here to the channel, please subscribe and turn on notifications so that you never miss when I am live again. Up to 495 subscribers on the channel, just 5 subscribers away from 500 here on the channel. So if you have not done so already, please smash that subscribe button so we can get to 500. Also, I would ask if you would kindly hit the like button share this live stream as well, and leave a comment in the comments section. Any thoughts, questions, or opinions that you may have, by all means, get those in there. And if you have not done so already, go give the channel a follow at Steel City SR on Facebook, Instagram, and X, and come back later tonight for SCSR 60. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to kick off the show right now with the Steelers' 53-man roster. It is officially out. Let me get this up here on the screen, share the screen. Like I said, the Steelers a bit late getting this out. Lots of people were on pins and needles wondering what was going on. You see the official time it came out right there, 4:32. So 32 minutes past when we should have known about it. But we are going to, real quick, go down and break down bit by bit what all is going on here with this 53-man roster. And I'm going to be honest, I yesterday did my final projection of what the 53-man roster would be. And safe to say, I think really nobody else out there, no one really had this perfectly displayed or perfectly predicted of what the 53-man roster would be. So taking a look at it right now, we're going to go position by position here, starting with the offense. 4 quarterbacks on the Steelers' initial 53-man roster, something that we weren't entirely sure if we were going to get or not. As a matter of fact, it was more likely than not that, we thought, all right, is Will Howard going to go to IR, or is Skylar Thompson going to get traded or cut? Who knows here? But the Steelers sticking with 4 quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers the starter, Mason Rudolph the backup, Will Howard and Skylar Thompson. I have no idea which of those two the Steelers have listed as QB3 or QB4, but there is a reason why Will Howard and Skylar Thompson are both here, and I'm going to reemphasize this a good bit throughout this 53-man roster breakdown. Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette said that the Steelers will place Howard on injured reserve at some point. Might not be today. It might not even be tomorrow or at this point this week. But Dulac says that the Steelers are going to be expected to put Howard on IR. That clears the way for Skylar Thompson, who had a good preseason to be QB3. That kind of strange, and it kind of makes you, think. We heard from head coach Mike Tomlin yesterday. He said that Will Howard is trajecting back towards being a full participant in practice. So what Tomlin said yesterday and what Dulac is reporting of Howard possibly or most likely going on the IR, it doesn't really line up, honestly, with me. So I wonder what that is all about. I found that to be quite strange. yeah, so four quarterbacks on here right now. You got to wonder, will Howard go on IR, or if he is really going to be healthy, will they just cut Skylar Thompson? Are they holding four quarterbacks on right now, maybe hoping that a team comes in late and offers the Steelers a late round draft pick for Skylar Thompson? Who knows? On to the running backs, 3 running backs. I'm pretty sure every single person who made a mock 53-man roster for the Steelers had this one correct. Just these 3, Kenneth Gainwell, Caleb Johnson, Jalen Warren. Warren probably going to be the bell cow of the group. Wide receivers, only 5 wide receivers, and that shocked me a bit. I was expecting the Steelers to probably go along with 6. That's why I had in my projection yesterday. I had the 6th wide receiver as Brandon Johnson, but the other 5, we could go back a week, maybe even 2 weeks now, and concretely put these 5 wide receivers in there, barring injury. So Calvin Austin, DK Metcalf, Scotty Miller, Ben Skoranek, and Roman Wilson are your 5 wide receivers. Tight ends, 3 hardcore tight ends, Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, and Darnell Washington. They had Connor Hayward on here as a tight end fullback designation. I mean, do we really need to put a fullback designation on Connor Hayward? We know he does it. So does Jonnu Smith. Does Jonnu Smith belong in that fullback category? I don't really know what they did. They're trying to fill up some, some graphic room, I guess. Offensive line, Steelers keeping pretty much every single offensive lineman that I expected them to keep. I think I had this one spot on with my 53-man roster projection yesterday. Calvin Anderson, Spencer Anderson, the starters, Troy Fautanu, Broderick Jones, Zach Frazier, Isaac Seumalo, and Mason McCormick. Andres Pete got some tackle guard versatility. He is on there. He joins the group after coming into the Steelers midway through training camp, and then Ryan McCullum as the backup center. Moving on now over here to the defense and special teams here. This is where things get interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Defensive line, Steelers, 8 defensive linemen. That is a massive amount of defensive linemen to have on this initial 53-man roster. Of course, Keanu Benton, Derek Harmon, and Cam Hayward, they stay. Y.A. Black, phenomenal preseason. He was an easy make as well. Daniel Ekwale, okay preseason. You didn't hear from him too much, but you would expect him to make the roster as the backup hardcore defensive tackle. And Isaiah Loudermilk, he survives another preseason. So those 6 right there, Benton, Harmon, Hayward, Black, Ekwale, and Loudermilk, I had making the team yesterday. But 2 surprises. Logan Lee, which I say you could sub out Logan Lee with Isaiah Loudermilk. I think I said that yesterday in my roster projection. If, either one of those 2 made it, I wouldn't be surprised if one made it over the other. But Logan Lee, he makes the D-line. Had a nice, little preseason. You didn't hear from him too much, but you did notice him out there a little bit. Also brings a ton more, off the field to the team. Chemistry with Y.A. Black going back to their time together at Iowa. Also, we saw his abilities to be a long snapper in a pinch with the Christian Kuntz injury. So him making the team, okay. Keeping 7 defensive linemen, I'm okay with as well. Then the 8th, Ezezi Otomemwo, who the Steelers brought in from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gonna be completely honest, I probably a time or 2 forgot that this dude was even on the roster throughout training camp, and that tells you how much he did as well in the preseason games. So, bit of a shock there that he made the team, but we are going to get to it in a matter of moments, what all is going on that front. Maybe, Otomemwo, just some thoughts here. Maybe they're holding on to 8 defensive linemen for a couple of reasons. We know that Derek Harmon, he is going to miss the first week of the season. Keanu Benton is dealing with a upper body injury. And, even though the Las Vegas Raiders last night, I'm sort of going off the beaten path here, but stick with me, I'm getting somewhere. Even though the Las Vegas Raiders last night traded for Kenny Pickett, they are no longer in the market for a backup quarterback. they do need some help on the defensive line. So maybe they could, if they don't get flattered with what's out there on the free agency market following cut down day, maybe they come back and offer a 7th round pick for Daniel Ekwale or Isaiah Loudermilk, something like that. It sounds crazy and far-fetched, but hey, never say never. And then in return, the Steelers could, maybe get Jacoby Myers, throw a, sweetener or something like that the Raiders' way. Maybe instead of, maybe you ship off a 3rd or a 4th along with one of these, excess defensive linemen that you have, because the Raiders need it after cutting Christian Wilkins. So, who knows? Maybe that happens, and then you get yourself a Jacoby Myers in return. I don't know. Anyways, back to the Steelers wide receiver problem there with Jacoby Myers, sort of backtracking here for a second. Steelers cut Robert Woods. He did not make the team. And the Jacoby Myers front that we talked about a little bit yesterday, still have not heard much on it. We do know, according to Adam Schefter, he was on Pat McAfee today, one team at least has been in touch with the Raiders about Myers. You would like to think that is the Steelers, but the Raiders, they are not willing to, eat salary on his last year of his contract, making $10.5 million, and they just don't want to trade him, to begin with. So the Amari Cooper signing yesterday for the Raiders, turns out that was just them adding to their wide receiver room, not, saying, all right, we brought in Cooper, now it frees us up to Jacoby Myers. So we'll see what happens there. Also, Steelers, like I said, only 5 wide receivers. I think they usually keep about 6. Maybe they're waiting, and maybe Otomemwo, talking about the defensive line here, maybe he gets cut. Steelers bring in another, wide receiver, one that got cut today. Who got cut today? Malachi Corley, former 3rd round pick from the New York Jets. I think the Steelers liked him when he came out of the draft a couple years ago. KJ Osborne, Mecole Hardman, KJ Hamler, Hunter Renfrow, who we just saw over the weekend, Trey Palmer, Deontay Johnson. Is anybody interested in bringing Deontay Johnson back? I don't know. By the way, Johnson, woof, what a rough year and a half it's been for him. He's been through 8 transactions in the last 18 months. Trade, waived, claimed, waived, claimed, signs with the Browns, released by the Browns. So crazy time for Deontay Johnson. Also, there's a couple other trade possibilities out there for the Steelers. Alec Pierce of the Colts, he's been, a little rumor. Adam Thielen for the Panthers. Tim Patrick for the Lions. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers trying to get some of his guys in the building. Apparently made a personal call to members of the Green Bay Packers front office looking for the availability of Romeo Doubs. So wide receiver too, even though the Steelers have just the 5 that we talked about, I do expect one more to be added before not too long. Getting back into the defense here. So they keep 8 offensive linemen. I don't think that they will keep 8 heading into New York here 2 weekends from now. I do think maybe one gets cut, or who knows, maybe one goes to IR. I don't know. Linebackers, talking about those, they just lumped the middle linebackers and the outside linebackers together. Carson Bruner, Malik Harrison, Nick Herbig, Alex Highsmith, Cole Holcomb, Patrick Queen, Jack Sawyer, TJ Watt, and Peyton Wilson make the team. No surprises there. DeMarvin Leal, he got cut today. Goes along with Mark Robinson, who got cut yesterday. That now, ladies and gentlemen, leaves just 6 out of the final 37 picks during the tenure of Kevin Colbert as Steelers GM left on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So 5 drafts, the final 5 drafts of the Kevin Colbert era, just 6 players combined over those 5 years remain on the team. Those are Mason Rudolph, Alex Highsmith, Pat Freiermuth, Isaiah Loudermilk, Calvin Austin, and Connor Hayward. So, yeah, crazy. Just 2 names left from the final draft of Colbert's tenure. That is pretty crazy, if I do say so myself. Also, Iku Leota, practice squad guy for the Steelers. Apparently, a couple fans have some sort of fascination with him. Would expect him to go on the practice squad as well. On to the defensive backs here. They lumping the corners and safeties together. 8 defensive backs. We talk about the defensive line being healthy. The defensive back room very, very thin with just 8 for now. I'm going to add on the caveat for now. So reading off the names here who made the team: Brandon Eccles, Deshaun Elliott, Dante Kent, who we did not see one single bit in any of the preseason games, and he was injured for a good bit of training camp. Had a walking boot on, all of that. 7th round pick out of Central Michigan. I would like to think that he is there for one specific reason I am going to get to in a second. Miles Killebrew, special teams captain. Joey Porter Jr., Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey, and Juan Thornhill round out the defensive back room. 3 big cuts from the Steelers' DB room to finalize the 53-man roster today. James Pierre, special teams guy, was pretty much shocked of him mostly that he got cut. I thought he balled out in the preseason and got his hands on a couple of footballs. We know what he contributes to special teams. I thought he had probably the best training camp that he's had of his career so far, and that he was an easy make for this team, but he gets cut. But hey, nothing to fret about. I'll get to it here in a moment. Chuck Clark, safety, former Baltimore Raven, former New York Jet. He too was brought in midway through training camp by the Steelers. Did okay, but if he got cut, I wasn't going to view it as the biggest loss in the world. And then the one that we all expected, Beanie Bishop. He gets cut by the Steelers, and the crowd goes mild. Really, this was expected. Had a okay first 2 performances in the first 2 preseason games, then missed the third, with an injury. Only really capable of doing one thing in the NFL, that is play slot corner. Can't play safety or outside corner that well. Doesn't contribute on special teams, so no surprise that he got cut. Another name missing from this unit, Corey Trice. He got put on the injured reserve, but with a designation to return. So that kind of expected, even though Trice recently returned to practice and was doing a little bit of light work. Him going on short-term IR, coming back after week 4 and after the week 5 bye. No surprise there. Just a couple of other things here on the Steelers DB room. The reason why I am not fretting about the Steelers cutting James Pierre and, to some extent, Chuck Clark is because the Steelers, they can re-sign those two veteran players. They were not waived. They were just outright cut. Their contracts terminated. So the Steelers can re-sign them. I think that what they're doing, and some reporters on the team have hinted at this, is that the Steelers, they could avoid using the automatic injured reserve return designation on guys like Will Howard, who Jerry Dulac said is most likely at some point going to go on IR, and even, Dante Kent, who's just now beginning to come back from injury. So there's some sort of loophole to where you can't fill up, to where you can, skip over filling up your injured reserve with guys designated to return, and then you can put them on IR and then bring them back sooner rather than later. So the Steelers working their way through a loophole there. I would like to think once Will Howard or Dante Kent go on IR after the return designation period has passed, that you will see maybe one, maybe both of James Pierre and or Chuck Clark return. Or who knows, maybe another defensive back out there. Lots of good defensive backs out there on the market right now. Mike Hilton got cut the other day from the Miami Dolphins. Could the Steelers find a reunion with him? I doubt it. Also, a couple good young corners who I'm fond of, or was fond of, when they came out of the draft. Jalen Armour Davis former Alabama Crimson Tide, who played for the Ravens. He got released today. And Juju Brents, former K-State corner, he got waived by the Colts today. So we will see what happens there. I think you're going to see a couple more players that are on this 53-man roster right now for the Steelers go on IR, and then you will see maybe a wide receiver added to the group, take that room from 5 to 6, and then maybe add another defensive back or two to bring that room up to 9, maybe even 10. So that is the initial 53-man roster for the Pittsburgh Steelers. A couple of other things here that happened, just going over the rest of the cuts that the Steelers made today. A couple other players who were waived, along with DeMarvin Leal, Iku Leota, Beanie Bishop. Dylan Cook, tackle. He was sort of on the fringe of making my 53-man roster. I wouldn't be surprised if he winds back on the practice squad. Sebastian Castro, Iowa safety, who I was high on when the Steelers signed him as an undrafted free agent. He got waived as well. Would not be surprised if he makes the practice squad. And then wide receiver Keyshawn Williams, who impressed both as a receiver and as a returner in the preseason games. He got waived. I want him to come back to the practice squad. Amongst the other contracts that were terminated, like Chuck Clark and James Pierre, Robert Woods, who we mentioned, Trey Sermon, running back, former Ohio State Buckeye, lit it up in the second half of preseason games. I don't know if he'll come back to the practice squad. I would like to have him or Lou Nichols back in that way. And then guard Max Sharping has guard and center capabilities, but he's more of a guard than a center. Maybe he comes back, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. 2 players were waived with injury designations, so they are gone from the team. Defensive lineman Dominique Davis and wide receiver Brandon Johnson. Couple of surprise cuts. Just going to mention one more time. Chuck Clark, James Pierre, but I expect one, if not both of those guys to be back. Dylan Cook. Beanie Bishop wasn't all that surprising. DeMarvin Leal, maybe there was a slim chance that he could have made the team after, some of the tape he put on in that final preseason game. But at some point, like I said, the Steelers, when they drafted him, he was a, athletic guy, but he was sort of a betweener between defensive lineman and outside linebacker. I think they just wanted to cut their losses with him. And some other notable makes for the Steelers 53-man roster. I sort of glossed over him when I mentioned the wide receiver group. Scotty Miller, kudos to him. He had a hell of a preseason, a hell of a training camp. I was expecting him, before any sort of before Latrobe, that he was just going to come in and be a warm body and then be amongst the 10, 15 cuts today. But congratulations to him for putting on good tape and seemingly finding his spot. And also, I mentioned this earlier, congratulations to Andrus Peat, who the Steelers brought in midway through training camp. Just looking here if there's a couple of other things that I might have missed. I do not see it. So what do you guys think? By all means, go ahead and leave your reactions in the comment section. What you think of the Steelers' initial 53-man roster of the 2025 season. We are going to have a little bit of critiques, but let's keep an open mind that this 53-man, I guarantee you, will not be the same 53-man roster that the Steelers will take into New York in week 1, and it'll probably look like maybe 10 to 12 guys different by the time the season ends. So who knows? We'll see what happens then. Let's go to the comment section real quick. Concepts in the comment section. Real quick, seeing massive numbers right now. 25 of you in here right now. Welcome to the live stream. If you have not done so already, please hit that subscribe button. We are now up to 495 subscribers on the channel, trying to get to 500. Maybe we can hit it before we are done here tonight. Also, would appreciate it if you leave a like and share this live stream. Let's keep growing those numbers. Concepts here in the comment section. Hope Beanie comes back on the practice squad. Miami may want him. I could see Beanie going down there. Miami, they just need defensive back help in general. So I think someone will see, just from an outside view of the Steelers looking in, they're going to see, oh, Beanie Bishop, 4 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, something like that. They are going to see just the stat line, and they are going to get really excited and be like, what the hell did the Steelers do getting rid of this guy? And they'll sign him, only to find out that, really 3 of those 4 interceptions were tip balls that went right into his waiting hands. So if he stays on the practice squad, I mean, cool. If Jalen Ramsey or Brandon Eccles, one of those 2 guys go down and the Steelers are in need of having a extra slot corner, maybe they elevate him, but I'm not going to cry, foul about him, whether he, stays on the practice squad or goes somewhere else. Otamemwo and only keeping 3 safeties were the main surprises for me, but I keep forgetting Ramsey plays safety as well. Yeah, I did not really think of that either concepts yesterday when I was building my 53-man. I will say that, I think that the Steelers will bring back Chuck Clark and or James Pierre. I think that'll happen, or someone capable of playing, safety. I don't want to slot in Ramsey as a hardcore safety because let's just say an injury to Darius Slay or Joey Porter Jr. goes down. Then you're going to need Ramsey to play more corner. And then that leaves you exposed more at safety because then you're going to be playing Juan Thornhill and Deshaun Elliott a ton more. And the main guy behind those 2 will then be Miles Killebrew, which, I'm not, this isn't meant, it might sound like it. This isn't meant to be a bash against Miles Killebrew. He's a hell of a special teams guy. And I think he is good for maybe, somewhere in the 3 to 5 ballpark range on defensive snaps a game. But if he's going to be your immediate backup safety, then you are very thin at safety. So even though Jalen Ramsey can play both ways, I still want another safety back there to help out. First half is of Colbert's tenure here was great. Yeah, he nailed it for 8 straight years in the draft, and then the second half was awful. People said Ben stayed too long, but Colbert was the real issue. Thankfully, Omar is fixing that. Hopefully, I will say at least through now I'm not going to go searching here for every single draft class that Omar Khan has put together since taking over at the GM spot. But, in the final 5 years of Kevin Colbert at the tenure, we would see after 2 or 3 years, guys get, shipped off the team or traded away or cut, something like that. I don't think you've seen that too much with Omar Khan up to this point. If Pierre isn't brought back, who do you think will be the gunner on special teams? Pierre, I do remember him. He was a good gunner, but I think the 2 main gunners that they had going back in Latrobe was Brandon Eccles. It was Brandon Eccles and maybe James Pierre, but I know Ben Skoranek has gunner capabilities. I think the Steelers, they have been working a ton with Roman Wilson at special teams. I think they had him do a couple gunner reps. So just going over that roster there, I wouldn't be surprised if Corey Trice might one day turn into a half-decent gunner. Scotty Miller, undersized. Never mind, I'm not going to list him as a gunner. Dante Kent maybe could be a gunner. Who knows? I do think that there are some, guys with gunner capabilities aside from James Pierre. If they bring back Pierre, fine. But if they don't, I also, will say, hey, they've at least, prepared for Pierre to get cut, and have other guys playing gunner. So we'll see. Flock in the comments here. Zay Jones for a late 3 pick would feed families. Man, you are all in on Zay Jones. I didn't hear really anything of Zay Jones. Zay Jones, I had a whole list here starred of guys who could be on the move, potential wide receivers to get traded. Zay Jones, he is on there. I guess I didn't scroll down far enough. Zay Jones there, Curtis Samuel, Parker Washington. One guy I'm very intrigued by, like I know Jacoby Myers, he's at the top of my list of wide receivers to bring in. Probably below him would be Alec Pierce from the Colts. But of guys who are on 53-man rosters or, got cut today, Trey Palmer intrigues me. Zay Jones, sure, he would intrigue me, I guess. Who else? Who else got cut today that I mentioned? Hunter Renfrow, no. I just wanted to put him out there because he's a brand name. KJ Hamler, no. Mecole Hardman, maybe 2 years ago. KJ Osborne, Malachi Corley, maybe. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Romeo Doubs, too. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers called the Giants or the Packers personally, asking about Doubs. So, we'll see what happens. Lots to go. MVS, no. MVS is put out the pasture. He's on the Mecole Hardman train here, where if you were getting MVS from 3 or 4 years ago, then yeah, I'd do it. But yeah, I don't think he's got it anymore. No thanks on Valdez Scantling. Gonna take a quick stroll here through Twitter before continuing on here today. Let's see if we have any new news or anything else going on since we've been live. Any more reactions to the 53-man roster? The Washington Commanders, by the way, just announcing that Terry McLaurin has re-signed. We knew that, but the Commanders, they make it official. Got some people online saying, hey, 31 with Beanie Bishop getting cut, the number 31 is available. Could that be Justin Simmons? We could go and visit the Justin Simmons well again. Doesn't necessarily have to be a second string special teams guy that the Steelers bring in to get an extra defensive back or two in that room. I would probably revisit that again. Justin Simmons, anyone interested? I sure as hell am. See if anything else is going on here. We are also, ladies and gentlemen, later on in the program, going to go over a couple of other notable moves around the league. The Cleveland Browns, they made a bunch of moves today. So we'll keep tabs on our rivals there. Also, the Los Angeles Chargers activating a former Steelers running back from the NFI list. Pretty sure you know who that is. I would not have guessed that he would be off that list with what happened to him. But hey, good for him that he is getting back to healthy. All right, before we continue on with some more football talk, which I'm sure will dominate today's live stream, we're going to change lanes here, and we are going to get into a little bit of baseball and hockey talk. We're going to start with the baseball real quick, ladies and gentlemen. The Pittsburgh Pirates last night opening up their 4-game series with the St. Louis Cardinals in St. Louis. The Bucks last night, back and forth of air, but it did not go their way in the end. They got out to a 1-0 lead immediately in the first inning last night. Ronnie Simon led off with a single to the opposite field. Then Spencer Horwitz was able to get him in on a ground out later in the inning. The Cardinals tied it up in the bottom of the first. Johan Oviedo had the bases loaded, and then a flyout scored 1 run. So it was 1-1 after 1. Then bottom of the second, top of the third inning, the bats went to work. Brian Reynolds, a 2-run shot, 432 feet to right field, followed up by Spencer Horwitz right after him. Back-to-back jacks for the Bucks, put the Pirates up 4-1. By the way, Brian Reynolds, all of a sudden, after the All-Star break. And, of course, when the season is already over and decided, turning back the clock to his old self. So, perfect time for him to go on a tear when the season is already lost. Johan Oviedo last night, I think he went 4 innings pitched, struck out 5, walked 1, just 53 pitches for him. So I think they may still be going very gingerly on his arm here. Still, his 3rd start back from Tommy John surgery in the big league. So still taking their time with him. And then they brought in Andrew Heaney. Remember him? Starter, brought in, 1-year deal. Was supposed to get traded at the deadline, but they kept him. And now he's in the bullpen. He came in to pitch. By the way, reached the 120 inning mark on the season, earning him a $50,000 bonus. And, good for him. Makes an extra $50K. That's the only good that he brought to the mound last night. Came in, got shelled. Gave up 4 runs. Made it 5-4 Cardinals before Colin Holderman, of all people, came in and, put out the fire. So, Heaney, a terrible day for him on the mound. Top of the 9th rolled around. The Bucks trying to stay alive. Ronnie Simon, which still trying to figure out who the hell Ronnie Simon is. He's been up for a couple of weeks now, but the Bucks brought him in midway through the season. He was able to line a double down the right field line. That tied up the ball game at 6. And then in the bottom of the 9th, Dennis Santana comes in, looks to get the game to extra innings, gets the first 2 outs on the first 2 pitches of the inning. And then Alec Burleson, Cardinals DH, somehow, someway, a fastball that damn near hits him in the ankle. He's able to get his bat down there and golf it out to center field, and it just clears the wall. So the Cardinals, they walk off the Bucks and Dennis Santana last night by a final score of 7-6. Recapping some roster moves that the Bucks made today. Outfielder O'Neal Cruz activated off of the concussion injured list. So he was with the team last night, had a locker room at St. Louis, was in the dugout, but officially got activated off of IR today. Dari Moreta, Big Bank Moreta, he is also back in the big leagues after he, for some reason, got sent down to AAA over guys like Cam Sanders and stuff like that. Also, the Bucks, Ronnie Simon, who had 2 hits, including that game-tying RBI in the 9th last night, he got sent back down to Indianapolis, and after getting shelled, Andrew Heaney, designated for assignment. Bye-bye, Heaney. We barely knew you. Congratulations. You are getting lumped in now with the many left-handed starting pitchers who signed 1-year deals over the past 3 years. You had just as much success as them. Good luck in your next endeavor. Also, I think with Heaney, some people out there are like, oh, the Pirates, they did it again, being cheap. Heaney, I mentioned, reached 120 innings, got his $50,000 bonus. If he pitched another 10, he would have gotten another 50 stacked on top of that. People saying, oh, really? The Bucks DFA'd him after he got 1 bonus. They're going to keep him from getting the rest. No, it's the fact that even though Heaney should have been traded at the deadline, at least a move that is excruciatingly too late, at least it's still a right one on Ben Cherington's part. A 5.39 ERA for Andrew Heaney. I'm not going to cry foul about him not getting an extra $50K for pitching another 10 innings here. So we can calm down on that front. The Pirates, by the way, tonight, they are back in action again. Another 7:45 first pitch tonight for the Bucks. Let me real quick get this up here. There it is right there. Starting lineup tonight for the Buccos. Jared Triolo, who's swinging a hot bat as of late, leading off at shortstop. Spencer Horwitz, who's usually the leadoff batter, bats second. Brian Reynolds in right. O'Neal Cruz cleanup tonight in center field. Andrew McCutchen DHing. Jack Sawinski in left. Henry Davis catching. Leover Peguero at second. And Isaiah Kiner-Falefa rounds out the lineup at third base. Mitch Keller on the bump tonight. And I'm pretty sure we all can sit here and guess how that ball game is going to go, because Keller, once again, in the middle of a end of season, second half of the season collapse that he's done for the past 3 years. I will be honest, though. We can criticize Ben Cherington, the guy you see down right here, pencil neck GM, doesn't know the difference between his ass and a hole in the ground. But I will say, if Jared Triolo, we know he's got the Gold Glove capabilities. Ever since I think he tinkered with his, stance in the batter's box and his swing where his hands are now lower, if he is going to hit like this with more regularity, I would be okay with this top 5 of the lineup, these guys being back next year. I know you take out, Nick Gonzalez, who isn't in the lineup tonight, but these 5 here, I'd be okay with them if they came back, but these other 4 positions, you got to improve upon. I'm okay, I guess, with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa coming back, but he should not be in a starting role. Liover Peguero, you can certainly upgrade over him. Same thing with Jack Sawinski, who, for some reason, only God can know why the hell he is still on this team. And then Henry Davis, still the jury is out on him on whether he is going to be a long-term catcher for this ball club. But that's the lineup tonight for the Bucks. 7:45 first pitch. That is coming up in a little under an hour and a half now. We will see if the Bucks can get back on track and continue this unspeakable, this, unusual hot streak that they are on over the past couple of series. They're in their house of horrors of St. Louis, but who knows? Maybe they turn it around tonight, but probably not. Going to keep the extra news or the news rolling here in a matter of moments, but real quick, back to the comments section here. Justin Simmons would be great. People keep saying he's washed, but I have no clue on that. Seems solid for Atlanta. I think that I haven't heard anyone say that Justin Simmons is washed, but I will say, even though I haven't heard it, he did have a quiet year with the Atlanta Falcons. I thought that they, Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates, they could have been a top 5 safety duo in the NFL, and I have no idea how things went down there. I take a flyer on Simmons. I think Thornhill had a good enough preseason in training camp where you can have a little bit of confidence in him being a starter. And Deshaun Elliott, after the year he had last year, he's going to be a starter as well. Even if you bring in Justin Simmons as a third safety that you rotate out there when Jalen Ramsey is playing corner and one of Thornhill or Elliott are tapping their helmets to get off the field. If you bring in Justin Simmons and have him play half the snaps, if you can get prime Justin Simmons, who at one point was a top 10 safety in the NFL, if you can get him for a couple snaps a game, I do it. So we'll see how things go there. I don't think that he is on the Steelers' radar, but who knows? Maybe he'll surprise us. Gonna keep things rolling along here before we get back into some more football news and some extra Pittsburgh sports news. We do have a bit of Penguins news here today, ladies and gentlemen. They making a announcement today that they are bringing back, I believe, something that they have not had or have not acknowledged since 2013. Since 2013, after 13 years, the Pittsburgh Penguins Hall of Fame is back. The Pens announcing right here, as you see, that over the next 3 seasons, they will celebrate 10 new inductees that helped shape the Penguins' history. So I thought that was cool. Glad to see that the Pens are bringing this back. Just a couple of notes on this. This relaunch for the Hall of Fame will continue to have previously established Hall of Fame Penguins, those former Hall of Famers that were in the old Pens Hall of Fame. Sil Apps, Les Binkley, Dave Burrows, Paul Coffey, Bob Johnson, Rick Kehoe, Mario Lemieux, Ulf Samuelson, Jack Riley, Mark Recchi, John Pronovo, Craig Patrick, and Joe Mullen in the players/builders category. Contributors, Dr. Charles Burke, A.T. Caggiano, Edward J. DiBartolo Sr., Elaine Hufeldler, Mike Lang, Vince Lashai, and Frank Scully. So that was the old enshrinees, 20 members that will be grandfathered into the new Penguins Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame will officially be relaunched on October 25th when a Hall of Fame ceremony, or celebration that they're calling it, will go down. Who those 10 guys will be, we will see. Lots of good names out there that were not mentioned in the old group. Tom Barrasso, Ron Francis, Jaromir Jagr, Kevin Stevens, Scotty Bowman, Eddie Johnson, good old JR, Jim Rutherford, Ray Shero, Chris Kunitz, Phil Kessel. Never mind. Phil Kessel would not be a part of it. I don't think he's technically retired yet. And I think the Pens Hall of Fame requires you to be retired for 1 year before you're eligible. So we will see. This Hall of Fame will include a physical space at PPG Paints Arena. I have no idea if that will be up at some point this upcoming season, but I think that will be cool to see. So that's cool. The Penguins bringing back their Hall of Fame in October of this upcoming season. The official statement from Pens GM Kyle Dubas on the revamped Hall of Fame. The Penguins are one of the most storied franchises in the history of the National Hockey League, and permanently celebrating the success of our past players and personnel has been an important mission of our current staff all across the organization. The 3-year plan is an effort to recognize those whose contributions laid the foundation for the championship standard here in Pittsburgh. We look forward to unveiling the Hall of Fame display and celebrating with our players, fans, and people of Pittsburgh. Cool statement there from GM Kyle Dubas. The Penguins Hall of Fame making a return. Excited to see that space in PPG Paints Arena and to see what players or personnel will make the Hall of Fame this go around. I will say, just going off of a couple of names that I mentioned there, I think there are some easy shoo-ins there. Barrasso, Francis, Jagr, Jim Rutherford, Eddie Johnston, Scotty Bowman, even guys like Ray Shero, the late Ray Shero. RIP to him, who passed away, I think, earlier this year. Yeah, lots of good names to choose from there. Excited to see the Penguins Hall of Fame make a return. All right, ladies and gentlemen, going to get into some more Pittsburgh sports news, the extra news stories of the day that we are just going to buzz through and not get too in the weeds in. I will say to the 15 of you in here right now, if you have not done so, please subscribe to the channel. 5 subscribers away from 500 on the channel. So if you have not done so yet, hit that subscribe button, please. Let's get to 500 as soon as possible. Also like, share, and leave a comment on this live stream, just like Concepts and Flock have done up to this point. Also, I will mention now and one more time before logging off for the night, go give us this channel at Steel City SR a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and X, and come back later tonight for a new edition of SCSR 60. Into the extra Pittsburgh sports news stories of the day. I am back to football here. I did say we are going to keep tabs on some moves that some Steelers divisional opponents have done over the past couple of days. We mentioned earlier one of the surprising cuts that the Baltimore Ravens made, cutting corner Jalen Armour Davis. Could be a possible target for the Steelers, who knows? But the Cleveland Browns, they made a bunch of moves within the past 24 hours. Of course, we mentioned they traded Kenny Pickett to the Las Vegas Raiders for a 5th-round pick. They also, with their 3 quarterbacks left on the roster, named Joe Flacco the starter. Dylan Gabriel, third-round pick out of Oregon. He is QB2, which means only a matter of time. Let me show off my watch and be loud as hell, even though I don't have a fraction of the talent that my daddy had. Shedeur Sanders is the prospect QB3 for the Browns. Deshaun Watson put on the PUP reserve list, so I think that does that end his season? If not, it's going to be a while before you see him come back. A couple other notable moves that the Browns made. Dustin Hopkins, their kicker that they bragged about that they drafted a couple of years ago, he got released. The Browns also traded for offensive tackle KT Leviston, who was a draft pick either this year or last year for the LA Rams. So Browns adding to their offensive tackle group. And then a couple of other notes from their 53-man roster. DeMonte Casey, former Steeler, he now joins, just trying to look here, he now joins Devin Bush. I think that's it. Bush and Casey, two former Steelers that made the Browns roster. Moving on here to the Cincinnati Bengals, just for a hot minute. We talked about it briefly yesterday because this broke during the live stream. The Bengals officially bringing back Trey Hendrickson on a restructured contract. Also, Diana Rossini, who national NFL reporter for The Athletic, said that the Bengals originally offered a 3-year, $95 million deal to Trey Hendrickson that did not include guaranteed money in the second year. No surprise there that Hendrickson turned it down and was insulted by that. The Bengals, being a cheap franchise, that never fails. And I know that's tough talk coming from me, fan of the Pittsburgh Pirates. But hey, we'll laugh at them in that aspect. But we know how it feels for their fans. Last piece of roster news here, NFL-wide, that is notable, or of some relation to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Najee Harris officially taken off the non-football injury list by the LA Chargers. If he had stayed on that list, he would have been forced to miss the first 6 weeks of the season. So after that 4th of July eye injury that he sustained, which we still have little knowledge of what the hell actually happened, and do we even know if Najee's eye is still open? The last picture that I saw of him, his eye was still, shut. So good for him that he is off the NFI list, and maybe he is available week 1. Last piece of Steelers news here for the day. Happy birthday to Steelers legend Donnie Shell. Celebrating his birthday today, a member of one of the all-time great defensive backs for this Pittsburgh Steelers franchise. Recap, looking here one more time, going back to baseball here. Some extra baseball news here for the day. Aside from the Pittsburgh Pirates losing last night and activating O'Neal Cruz while DFAing Andrew Heaney today, some extra Bucco news is that their schedule for the 2026 season has been released today. You see it right there. Once again, the Pirates, just like always, beginning their season on the road. They kick off next year in New York against the New York Mets. They also have the Cincinnati Reds there. In the Pirates news release, they had a couple of listed a couple of highlights of the schedule. The Pirates will open up the 2026 campaign in New York with a 3-game series against the Mets from March 26th to the 29th. Their first road trip will conclude with a 3-game series, second series of the season, already a divisional matchup against the Cincinnati Reds. Opening day at home will be the home opener, for the Pirates will be against the Baltimore Orioles, that coming April 3rd through the 5th. They also have the San Diego Padres on that homestand. Couple other highlights: a 6-game homestand against the Rockies and Phillies in mid-May. Late May, a 7-game homestand against the Chicago Cubs and Minnesota Twins on June 9th through the 14th. They got the LA Dodgers and Miami Marlins on a homestand. And then a 3-game series in Detroit against the Tigers will wrap up the season. Just doing another quick, look at, did not mean to take that down here. Let me put that back up real quick. There it is. Just one last quick look here at the schedule for the Bucks is that some of the beginnings and ends of these middle months of the season, I have a feeling, are going to be absolute hell. The Bucks, they are going to need to get off to a hot start here in March and April. I do think that they have a good chance to do that. They got some beatable teams. The Reds, they always play tight. The Orioles, Nationals, Tampa Bay Rays, Texas Rangers. But just looking here, even into May here, the Twins are there, the Rockies, Diamondbacks, Giants. But June, the beginning of June here, and some of the beginning of like July and August here, rough. To begin June, 3 in Houston, 3 in Atlanta. Then you come home and play the Dodgers. That's a rough 9-game span. A couple other ones here. July, late June heading into July, you got Philly. You get a nice little break there with Washington, but then you get the Braves again and then the Brewers. And then out of the All-Star break, Cleveland, Yankees, Cubs. Man, rough heading into the All-Star break and coming out of it. And then in August here, you got Cincinnati and Milwaukee back-to-back 4-game sets on the road against divisional opponents. And then to wrap that up, you go back home without an off day from Milwaukee after 8 straight games against divisional opponents to then take on the Yankees. And then later on in August, Red Sox, Tigers, Dodgers, Padres, Cardinals. The whole month of August, aside from maybe the Miami Marlins, is just hell incarnate. So that is the Pirates 2026 schedule. I know it's kind of hard for us Pirates fans to look at that schedule and really give 2 craps about what happens next year, just because this year has emotionally drained us, but we'll mention it. And I think that will do it, ladies and gentlemen. So wrapping things up there with the Pirates schedule. Just going to take one last stroll here through X, see if there's any new pieces of information of what happened today. We do have some news on a suspension. This is breaking news. Something that I did not mention in my recap of last night's Pirates-Cardinals game. First baseman Wilson Contreras for the St. Louis Cardinals, I want to say this was in the 7th inning, struck out on 3 pitches. I was saying something to the umpire, and he and the umpire got into a verbal spat. Contreras gets tossed, gets very animated and angry with the umpire, had to be restrained by his manager and his bench coach, threw the bat and his helmet at the, or not at, but in the direction of the home plate umpire, and then also chucked a full bucket of bubble gum out onto the field. A suspension just came down for him, a hefty 6-game suspension and an undisclosed fine. Wow. He is appealing the decision. That is breaking news 2 minutes ago from Bob Nightingale, MLB insider and writer for USA Today. Wow. Wilson Contreras. I knew he was going to get suspended after, giving the bat and his helmet and the bubblegum a toss. Thought, okay, maybe he gets 3 games at most, but 6 games, double that. Wow. Crazy. see here if there's any other pieces of news that have come down yet before logging off here for tonight. Not seeing anything that we haven't discussed already. Another one of those things, this is just, general NFL news. The Patriots releasing their former first-round pick guard and center Cole Strange. Played and started 29 games over 3 years in New England. The Steelers do not need offensive line help. Well, not like from a young guy who just got cut like this, but if this was back in the day when Munchak was around and you still had like concretely all 5 starters on the offensive line set, I would take a flyer bringing in Cole Strange and try to, rehab him, and then maybe he fills in as a guard or something. But, maybe that's something for another time. Who knows? I think that'll do it for tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, talked about a lot. Steelers, their 53-man roster officially finalized. Let's go to the comment section real quick. Concepts, Deontay Johnson return. JK, of course. Unless the Steelers need a diva wide receiver who runs backwards and drops footballs, I think that no return or reunion will be formed there. I think that bridge has been burned pretty significantly. The Shedeur Sanders glaze is insane. The excuses already started. Meanwhile, Gabriel's pick was a wide receiver mistake, but he gets buried. Gotta love it. Yeah, love it. We'll laugh at the Browns. Great show. Appreciate the content. I appreciate you, Concepts, and I appreciate all of you that have joined in at some point tonight. 15 of you remaining in here right now. I saw the number of live viewers tonight go up to around the 30 mark, so I appreciate all of you. Lots more to come here in the coming days. Maybe not so much for the rest of the week. This 53-man roster was the pretty big topic for the Steelers this week. Maybe we get a couple other moves, maybe a wide receiver addition. Who knows? If that is the case, we will talk about that. But especially next week, it'll probably be rough getting through it. We'll be talking about the Pirates, but Steelers, maybe not going to expect too much news from them. And then 2 weekends from now, well, this weekend, college football. Very excited about that and ready to just sit down and watch college football all day. But then next weekend, the weekend after this coming weekend, Steelers football is back September 7th, week 1 in JetLife Stadium against the New York Jets. Excited about it. We will see what all goes on then. We'll be live for that first game of the season. Jacoby Myers was spotted at the airport. Remember the Ayuk sighting? Yeah, the meme that everyone puts up of the dude in front of the the Hertz rent-a-car. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you're gonna see more of those with almost any notable wide receiver that comes out. So that'll do it. Thank you, Concepts, again for the comment, and thank you to all of you who joined in tonight. One final time, please subscribe to the channel. One last subscriber check. Still now up to 496 subscribers. So 4 away from 500. If you did not hit that subscribe button already, please do so. Let's see if we can reach 500 subscribers. We'll be back here tomorrow. We'll talk about the Bucks. We'll talk about more of what goes on with the Steelers and across the NFL and anything else that happens to come along the way. Last time, subscribe, turn on notifications, like, share, and comment on this live stream. Go give me a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Steel City SR. And come back later tonight. SCSR60 will be up at some point later on tonight. Thank you. Have a good rest of your Tuesday night. Ladies and gentlemen, back here tomorrow with some more Pittsburgh sports news. Have a good one. Peace.